Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. Welcome to the session on observability at scale. I am your host for the session, and my name is Chinmay Gaikwad. I am the technical evangelist at Epsagon. Some housekeeping items. I will be answering your questions at the end, so feel free to ask any questions. And there is a special offer for you at the end. A bit about myself. I have had an interesting journey so far. I have been a technical person at large companies such as Intel and IBM, and also smaller startups. My hobbies include traveling, soccer, exploring restaurants, and playing video games. Although these days it's just video games because of the situation we live in. I'm really looking forward to resuming traveling as soon as the COVID situation is over. So this is a photo of mine from Sapa in Vietnam. If you guys haven't visited Vietnam, I would highly recommend it. Okay, so let's get started with the session. In this session, we will look at how microservices have become the new normal. We will also know that with newness come new challenges. So we will specifically focus on the challenges in achieving full observability in distributed architectures. And lastly, we'll discuss how a good observability solution should look like. So let's get started with a bit of context on the evolution of microservices. Arguably, March 2006 was a huge catalyst for the adoption of microservices. So what exactly happened in March 2006? Well, AWS was officially launched. While it was at that time, and almost no one outside of Amazon was running production services on it, AWS was definitely a game changer as we know today. Suddenly, we were no longer dependent on managing bare metal servers and applications. So applications and services can just be lifted and shifted to the cloud. So that was basically step one. With this, infrastructure management became something for the software engineers to look into. And that ushered an era of DevOps. From there, we saw a rise in the software as a service industry. Payment gateways, authentication, and even databases become commoditized. This introduction allowed engineers to break silos within their applications and start taking advantage such as containers. Function as a service was then introduced, and we stopped worrying about most of the infrastructure at that point. This allowed us to break components even into smaller components. Hand in hand with the evolution of software, the architecture has also evolved. As most of you know, around 85% of today's enterprises are adopting microservices as their default architecture. These highly distributed modern applications are more typical than ever today. Rather than being built in data centers, now built. These modern applications are highly distributed. That is, the application code is broken down into smaller, more lightweight services, which can be thought of as mini apps. Each one of them run independent of each other. There is no one monolith of code in the application. Suddenly, those easy to depict architecture diagrams started to become more chaotic. So this was a hugely complicated architecture, but it definitely had its own boon as well as its bane. So let's look at why organizations are adopting microservices. According to a report by Coding Sans, scalability, speed of development, and decreased system administration are the top reasons for adopting microservices. Scalability is something of a very impressive term in microservices. You could literally scale microservices within a few seconds with just the click of a button. It definitely increases the speed of development as well as has more utilization of resources. But as discussed, modern applications now have thousands of services, so visibility into those have become increasingly complex. Using traditional monitoring applications, it can be nearly impossible to know what is going on under the hood. So let's see how we can troubleshoot distributed applications. We should start with understanding what observability and monitoring exactly are. So observability is instrumenting systems and applications to collect relevant data. Monitoring tells you if a system is working, and observability lets you ask why it is not working. So as you can see, observability and monitoring go hand in hand. So they complement each other very well. Observability isn't just a tool, it is a must-have culture for any organization. It is important for all, right from the developers to the C-suite. It's pretty common knowledge that the three pillars of observability are metrics, logs, and traces. We'll discuss tracing later, but let's see what metrics and logs are. Metrics are a great way for operations to figure out if something has gone wrong. Logs can tell us why it went wrong. Examples of metrics include CPU utilization or AWS CloudWatch. And there are also business level metrics which can be traced, which include bounce rate and revenue, etc. But when you're running tens, hundreds, or even thousands of microservices, these alone are not enough. Let us see why they aren't enough. I'm pretty sure you know issues can arise in many different forms. But did they truly start where an alert shows up, or could they have begun earlier in the stack? How can we validate that there wasn't malformed data being sent to a Lambda from a service earlier in the flow? How can we be sure that that isn't in fact due to third-party API? The traditional way to debug these things is through logs. And as you know, logs look something like this. As an engineer or developer, do we dive into these logs across dozens of services hoping to find the needle in the haystack? How often do we scroll through dozens or hundreds or even thousands of log lines to spot an outlier? Similarly, how often have we sat and watched a live tail of logs flowing through? What if we could have done the same thing, but after knowing the exact path a request is taking through individual services and components? Logs are good to debug monoliths, but they don't work as starting point in highly distributed applications. Well, there are also log aggregators that help bridge the gap of centralization, but they still lack key context to event or metric that you're tracking. Logs are also heavy and poorly structured. Hence, it's even more challenging to determine what is wrong. So let's recap of the things that are missing. It essentially boils down to correlation. Correlation between metrics and logs, and between different services. The correlation will help us find the exact problem. So how do we correlate these pieces? One great way is distributed tracing. So I'm pretty sure you have heard a lot about tracing lately. Many vendors offer some form of distributed tracing, and even service meshes are now building support for it. There are also dozens of open source solutions out there. However, where did it all begin and why? Distributed tracing was born out of Google over a decade ago, and it allows engineers and developers to trace the specific path a request makes through services. In effect, it helps shine the light on the needle in the haystack that logging or metrics can miss. Just because your application is made of 15 or 20,000 services doesn't mean a request will travel through every one of them. At best, it travels through only a fraction of those services. Let us look at some of the open source options for distributed tracing. With distributed tracing, you have frameworks like Jaeger and Zipkin. Some order was brought to this landscape with the introduction of open tracing and open telemetry. These are frameworks to be followed and utilized. Although they are immensely helpful in pinpointing the issues in highly distributed environments, they come with significant development effort. This slows down the key developer velocity we hope for. Furthermore, these oftentimes lack the visualizations necessary to trace the exact path a request travels. This limits you to a simple waterfall graph for troubleshooting. Additionally, they lack key correlation between metrics and logs and don't necessarily provide you with the visibility to search for a specific data within API calls. Recently, though, some progress has been made in the visualization area because of tools like Grafana. Let us see how we can instrument using OpenTelemetry. In distributed tracing, you would like to instrument every external API call within your code to create building block of traces called spans. A span essentially represents work done by a single service, and it also has time intervals and associated metadata. You should collect and include your spans across all relevant information, including payloads in many cases. By injecting and extracting identifiers from spans in API calls, you can correlate spans from remote servers. There are also some managed observability solutions out there. Obviously, I'm going to plug in our solution. We at Epsagon have one of the best distributed tracing solution, which is super easy to set up and is low code. It can run in any modern microservices environment, including Kubernetes, ECS, and serverless. You can also correlate metrics, traces, and logs with payload visibility. And finally, it is an end-to-end solution which can be used to troubleshoot across different business units and different teams across the organization. Security and privacy is super critical to any observability solution, and that is why we have made an effort to be ISO and SOC certified. We are also GDPR and HIPAA compliant. Let's look at an example of how you can visualize APIs and microservices using a really good observability solution. This is a simple blogging website. As you can see, there are a number of microservices involved here. One of the most important features for observability solution is visualization. Users also expect actionable data within these complex visualizations and service maps. As we zoom in or filter on specific components, users should have the ability to start seeing latency between these components and areas where thresholds have been crossed. Metrics should also be present so that some context is provided to these issues and alerts that are going out. A good tracing solution should also pinpoint where exactly a time is being spent. Here you can see the different spans in a trace, the different spans represented by different colors. So a span helps you answer questions such as, is a significant portion of time being spent on waiting for an external API call to respond? Or perhaps we have an inefficient database call being made that needs refactoring. The waterfall visualizations make it easy. At Epsagon, our waterfall visualization can provide you with rich context of header metadata to help troubleshoot applications in real time. At a business level, we need to not only look at traffic of our application holistically, which of course is very important, but we also have to look at the context of each service and component. In this example, we have a payment service that handles all of our processing, and the traffic there drops to 0. Even if traffic in every other service of the application is fine, this particular service needs to look into. So we have the flexibility to slice and dice the data in any number of ways, with a couple of examples shown here. We may also want to look at traffic at an application level, at a service level, or even a resource type level. It's going to be a similar idea when it comes to errors. Not all errors are the same. An error that is critical in service A might be able to be ignored in service B. And so again, when it comes to really understanding the error state of your application, you need to be able to look at a number of different viewpoints. Maybe that's breaking it down by error code. For example, if a user is being rate limited, but that information might not be as critical as seeing a huge number of 500s. Further, we may want to look at errors not only based out of error code, but also based out of exception type. There are a number of ways you might want to visualize, track, and understand errors throughout your system. And it's the job of a good observability tool to allow you to do just that. As a user, you should plan your observability journey right from the start. First of all, you should have clarity on the business model and the architecture that you're going to use. Then you should determine whether you want to go with the DIY solution or a managed solution. Obviously, both have their pros and cons. Then you have to implement that observability solution. And the final one is the most important point. Because microservices can scale within a fraction of a second, your observability tool should also be able to scale with them. So that is a very important feature to have in an observability solution. So we are almost at the end of our session. So let's summarize what we have seen till now. We saw that distributed microservices come with their own unique benefits as well as challenges. Observability through metrics like throughput or simply seeing the response time aren't enough to determine where the issue is and don't provide us with the value necessary to keep our environments healthy. Distributed tracing with context helps us to tell a story of where, when, and why a user has encountered an error. Finally, observability helps us to get visibility into our architecture, reduce mean time to resolution, and also reduce a bunch of costs. A great observability solution helps shift our mindset away from being reactive to being proactive. I would like to end the session just by saying that observability should be critical for any organization, and it shouldn't come at the expense of business or developer velocity. A good observability solution definitely helps you to meet your technical as well as business challenges. And that's my time for today. I will look at some questions and answers if we have any. Okay, we have a question. Does Epsagon use AWS monitoring services or create its own? So we definitely leverage AWS CloudWatch to get metrics, but we also have instrumented applications on AWS. So we can get more insights into what applications are running and the data and the payload visibility that we can obtain from them. So I think most of the people are waiting for the Apple Watch giveaway. For those of you who don't know, you can go and visit epsagon.com/devweek for your special offer. And if you have any questions, please feel to reach out to me at chinmay@epsagon.com. And with that, I think we can end the session. Thank you.